Hello, thank you for coming back to listen to this video. My name is Peterkin Ofori. I am a lawyer, a mental health professional, and a relationship expert. Last week I did a video about how victims of domestic abuse continue to stay with their abusers. And following that video, a lot of questions has come to me which I think needs to be addressed. One of the questions is, how do I know I am being abused? And other questions that came was, how do I help people or victims of domestic abuse? I am going to take the first question this week, and hopefully next week I will take that question and subsequent questions that have been asked. So the question is, how do I know I am being abused? It is a fairly difficult question. If you had listened to my video last week, and if you haven't, please do and like and share. You will understand that for anyone to be abused, they have to go through the preparatory stage to the point where the abuse commences, through the reward system that exists between the abused and the abuser. And once you go through this stage, you get prepared to be abused. So it is interesting to know that there are so many people in abusive relationship that do not even know that they are being abused. It is not a surprise to me, but it sounds rather shocking. They know they are being hit, they know they are being punched, they know they are being raped, they know they are being verbally abused, but they do not consider that to be an abuse. And the reason is that they have been prepared to be abused. So, if I may give an example, in March last year during the lockdown, I worked in a refuge home for battered women. I hate that word battered because I think it's a bit derogatory, but this is the word they use. And these were women that had escaped violence from their home and had come into the refuge home. And when you speak to them, one of the first thing they will tell you why what happened is give you a reason why they were beaten. So they will start off, for example, I washed the children late, so I didn't prepare my husband's food on time. When he got home, his food was not ready. He got upset and hit me. So straight away, what you will find is that they are giving you a reason why the husband got upset to hit them. They are taking the blame for being punched. And this is so because over the years they have been prepared to be abused. That's why I think it's important you go back to my first video if you haven't listened to that. Because of that preparation, they've been made to believe that when the husband gets angry and hits them, it is because of what they had done that got the husband upset to hit them. And these reasons and excuses for the husband was consistent with almost everybody I spoke to. People were beaten blue and black, and the first thing they will do is try to give you a reason why they got beaten. So it is a very, very difficult situation for anyone that is in an abusive relationship to even begin to seek help. So how do you know that you are being abused? One of the way that I try to get people to understand that they're in an abusive relationship is to get the reasons why they get abused and to now turn that to ask if the abuser, the person abusing them, have got the right to do that. So we get the reasons against rights. And as we continue to discuss and put the emphasis on the right of the person to hate them and ask what right have they got to hate them. And we try to get a victim to think through and possibly answer the questions for themselves so that they can have a reason or accept that they have or they don't have a right to hate them. Once they go through that, they begin to question that actually this person shouldn't be hitting me because they don't have a right, although they've given them all the reasons to hit them because that is how they've been prepared. They have no right to hit them. So a lot of the conversation that we have in trying to get people to accept that they are being abused is to go back to what actually happened and whether or not the person has got a right to hit them. And we expand that by going on to ask the questions whether marriage, for instance, gives anybody right to hate the other partner, whether marriage gives right for forced sex for you, forces you to have sex with you, whether marriage gives anybody right to abuse the other, whatever relationship that is, whether that gives a person's right to hate, abuse, rape, and do all those things. So once the person begins to accept that there is no such right, they begin to question it. They begin to question it and then begin to accept that actually they are being abused. Before we do that, we will have taken them and educate them through the preparatory process. And what happens, they see themselves in that whole process where they were being prepared to the point where they've been abused, and the fact that the person don't have any right, and therefore it is not, they are not to be blamed for the person's conduct, but it is the person that needs to take the blame. Once somebody has now accepted that they are being abused or they are in an abusive relationship, that is when we take to the next step. And let me go back to say that it is important that you don't tell people that they are in an abusive relationship without getting them to understand that they are actually in an abusive relationship, right? You turn that person away from getting any help. So once the person have understood that they are in an abusive relationship, we take the next step, and the next step is how do they now come out, or how do they prevent the abuse? One of the most important things that a person can do for themselves is call it out. Call it out. You see, and when I say call it out, what we are saying is that let the person that is abusing you know that you know you are being abused. And there's a reason behind it. A lot of the people that are abusers go through that preparatory stage where they prepare you, and at the time they are abusing you, they believe that you don't know you're being abused. And it is true because a lot of the victims don't even know they are being abused. So once you have worked it out that you are now in an abusive relationship, you let them know that now you know that you are being abused. If you had listened to my previous tape, a lot of these people lack emotional intelligence, and they like to be in control, and they are very manipulative. So once you are able to actually point it out that you know what is happening and you now do understand, they sort of lose their bearings, and they are more likely to go back to the preparatory stage because you now found them out. It's like you've caught a thief, they become disorientated. They now go back to the preparatory stage to now prepare you again to abuse you in other forms. So if it's physical abuse, you may now prepare to sexual or verbal or emotional psychological abuse. They won't stop, but they will try something else. So once you call out, what you are actually doing is to give yourself time to escape. But it is important that you don't lose that calling out opportunity. If you go to accuse the person that they are abusing you because they have used violence to cover their lack of intelligence, they will continue with the violence. And because at that point your confidence is already shattered, you may not have that confidence to even come back. So it is important that you say it the right way. And one of the things that we teach people to do is to teach them how to inform their partners, their husbands, their boyfriends, that they know they are being abused. And one way of saying that is, I think, so you talk about yourself and you talk about what you know. So I would say, I think that the way I get hit in this home every day, or the way I get insulted, the way I get, you forced me to have sex, I get forced to have sex every day, is an abuse. So you note that in this whole statement, I have not mentioned the person's, I have not made reference to that person. I'm talking about how what I feel that the way things happens to me in this home, I think is an abuse. Now the person know that you are being abused, and you have not spoken about them too, so they become a lot more receptive to that, and it may not give them enough reason to be defensive and to try to sort of shut you down, so that your the little confidence that you've gained to tell them that will be crushed again. Another thing that has worked in the past with people that I have supported is working at how they can actually express their fears to the person that is abusing them, and also taking active steps to avoid the abuse. So the expression of fear comes in a way that after you've called out, at the time that you think that the person is beginning to get agitated and you stand at the risk of being assaulted or being abused, you let the person know that you are scared that they are going to do that. A lot of the time, that is likely to put them off because they've been found out. So if you suffer abuse, the key thing is to try and identify the triggers, what triggered the man or the person that is abusing you, and you look out for the triggers. So when they are getting agitated, when their speech is not coming out, when you think that they are going to get violent, you stay away, you move away from them. And in doing so, you also, if you have the opportunity and it is safe to do so, let them know that, look, I think we are going to strike out, I think we are going to do something to me, so I am moving away. You have that conversation. You don't stand and exchange words and what have you with such a person when the triggers are evident, so you move away. This has helped in the past. So just to recap about a few things, the things that we need to do if you want to know that you're being abused is, first, understand. Try to understand that you are being abused. And you look at rights and reasons. And then when you do understand and you know you are being abused, you need to call it out. And after that, you also need to express your fears and look at how to escape the abuse by identifying the person's triggers. And the moment you identify a trigger, you move out so that you don't get abused. I hope this helps. There are a lot of other practicable ways that I don't think I can cover within this video, but if you have any questions that you think you need answering, you can pin me, and I'll try my best to try and answer and support as much as I can.